Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm in my account today, and I was on stream working on somebody's account, and then we were talking about a couple things, and I realized I hadn't done a video on Deacon Armstrong in Clan Boss, and that's kind of an oversight on my part because I've come up with these tunes a while back. I shared them with a couple of the other content creators. I'm pretty sure a few people have done videos on them, and I realized I hadn't done one myself, and so I figured I should go ahead and do that, kind of talk to you guys a little bit about this comp. Now, Deacon Armstrong, if you're not familiar, was one of the more recently released champions, and he has a wonderful kit. He has a couple things that are really going for him, including a leech debuff, decreased defense debuff, and a turn meter increase with an extra turn on it, so that can happen every other turn. This is another one of those unique champions that can enable you to go at a 2-1 ratio just with them alone. So it's in the same boat as Seeker and Mashald as the three champions that you only need those three champions to be able to go at a 2-1 ratio. It's a very unique kind of champion. So we wanted to show what we can do, how we can build that, and how the kind of adjustments we have to make to our traditional 2-1 teams in order to make that work. So we're going to show them off in a Bat Eater, Batman setup today. But just know, you don't have to use Deacon only in a Bat Eater setup. He actually works really well in a traditional Batman team, Batman Forever team with like Tower and Warcaster. He also works great, I think maybe even better, in a non-unkillable Batman team. Now, the speed requirements for Batman are super high, so almost always we end up using unkillable teams for it, but you don't have to. You can build it more traditional because all we're relying on those champions on is to get us to that 2-1 speed ratio. So if you can get to the speeds needed, Deacon does bring a speed aura. He's actually a really good champion. So if you can get to the speeds needed, you can run a traditional team, and Deacon's actually going to be really helpful for that because he brings a lot to the table. But we're going to get to all that in a second. Real quick, before we get started, one, if you guys have the moment, please take the time, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like the videos. We're trying to provide this kind of content to you all the time, so I just want to give you guys a quick reminder because I know a lot of you end up watching it and don't subscribe. It just takes a little bit of time out of your day and makes a big difference in mine. The other thing I want to remind you is if you enjoy the music from today's video, there's a link down below to Soundstripe. It's where I get my music from. You can use code DeadwoodJedi, save yourself 15%. And the very last thing is I have a GameOn video for some alternate champions. If you're going to run this team and it's unkillable, if you're going to run it with Deacon Armstrong, because of the unique debuffs that he brings to the table, there are some different champions that you might want to run as your lead champion. Sorry, not your lead champion. You're going to want to run Deacon as the lead, but as your DPS champion, I should say. And I think you're going to be surprised by a couple of them. So I did a quick GameOn video, just talking about 2 or 3 of them that I think you might be interested in. So I want to let you know about all that. That link will be in the description and comment of the video down below. That said, let's go ahead and take a look at the champion really quick, Deacon Armstrong. Okay, guys, this is Deacon Armstrong. As you can see, he looks freaking amazing, right? Just looks really awesome. The gold all over the place, the high pontificate kind of hat on himself. He's half religious, half fighter, just like a classic D&D cleric, I suppose you'd say. Really cool champion. Now, as far as how I have him kitted out, so you have an idea. 226 speed, really the bare bones bottom. Now, I did build him up as best attack damage as I can, which, as you can see, really low attack. He has a very low base attack. So I actually feel like with his stats, he's actually built more for a traditional clan boss team. Not built as an attack champion, but to survive. You can build up that defense, you can build up that HP to a pretty solid level. So I wouldn't personally, I mean, this is great for an unkillable team, right? But he's not a huge damage dealer, so he's actually going to lend himself more to a traditional clan boss team, which I think is pretty interesting about him. As far as his kit goes, A1 places a leech on that A1 2-hit, and each one has that chance, books up to a 50% chance for each hit. So he's going to keep leech up pretty much the full fight for us. He also has a decreased defense on his A2, which books to a 100% chance on this AoE. The AoE part of it actually makes him pretty useful in all areas of the game. And then time compression fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, reduces the turn meter of all enemies by 15%, grants an extra turn. This is a 3-turn cooldown. What this means is basically because of that extra turn, he's going to get that every other turn, right? So he's going to use this skill, boom, that's 1 tick. He'll immediately go into this, that's 2 ticks. His next turn will be this, that's 3 ticks, right? So the third turn, comes back up, he's back at this again. And that's going to be the same rotation for all these. So he's going to be able to fill the turn meters every other turn, which is really, really strong, really great for clan boss. And we're getting decreased defense every time. We're getting leech every other attack as well. And then on top of that, his aura, he's got an all battles aura, 19% speed. It's really, really strong, guys. I mean, it's really strong champion. Very, very excited to use him. I think he's going to be really good. And like I said, I think he actually might be better in more of a traditional clan boss team because of that decreased defense. Now, as far as the masteries go, I went pretty traditional, right? Defense, offense, masteries. Nothing too crazy about that. You know, we're going to come down to War Masteries to get single hits, pretty much single and double hits. Nothing crazy with that. But yeah, so like if I were going to build him up for a traditional clan boss, get that defense up, get that HP up, I think he's going to be really good in that. And the leech means you don't need to bring a healer. That's what he's doing himself. Now he does bring decreased defense, doesn't bring weaken, so that's something you'd have to bring in. But that's pretty much it. Now as far as the rest of this team goes, I'm going to show you him in the Bat Eater team. We're going to bring Draco in, and Draco's going at right now 205 speed. We're going to bring in our 2 Man-Eaters. Our fast one is all the way up to 277 speed, really as slow as it can go. The slower one is going to be at 251 speed, and our Painkeeper is going to be very similar at 249 speed right there. And those are the 5 champions we're going to be bringing in. Now, when you're running this takes into account the speed aura, as we're using Deacon in our lead. So because of that aura, we can have everybody at those speeds. Without the aura, because it is only a 15% turn meter boost, not the 30% that you're typically getting from a Seeker. So it's considerably lower. Okay, guys, this is the team that we're going to be using. We have Deacon Armstrong in the lead, and he needs to be in the lead in order for us to get that aura. 19%, that's like dropping basically 20 speed off all our champions. That's actually really, really important. We have Draco in there as our DPS champion, my newly acquired Draco. Love it. Maybe another reason why I want to run this. We also have the 2 Man-Eaters right here and Painkeeper. Now, the setup for this, because there's a fair amount of variation within the speed ranges, the setup can change. The setup can change based off difficulty, and so like, you know, what we have on the website is going to be something that should work for all affinities. But you know, pay attention to the instructions there, because that's going to definitely, you know, we'll try and indicate the best ways to make this happen. But because the ranges are pretty wide, some of that can change. So it should all work, but you might need to be aware of, like, if you have Relentless on your DPS champion, which can work, it might throw some things off a little bit earlier in the fight. So just be aware of that type of thing, especially if you're going at Spirit Affinity. I guess is the only one where you might be susceptible to certain debuffs if those proc at the wrong time. But those are really the only things you really need to be concerned about. I know the setups might not match what I'm going to do today, but know that there's a variety of ways to make this work. So it's not just one size fits all. So you can probably mess around and maybe find something a little bit that works a little bit better for you. This is what I think is maybe the best setup right here, with the least amount of turns and clicks, and keeps everything safe and good to go all the way through. Now, one other thing to remember is Deacon Armstrong has a 15% turn meter boost. Seeker has a 30% turn meter boost. That difference in turn meter is huge. And that's why the speeds on this comp are so much larger than the ones on the normal Batman teams. Not only that, it also means syncing this is going to happen considerably later, basically a whole extra cycle later than it would with Seeker, and a big part of that is that difference in the turn meter boost. It also makes it a little trickier to set up as a result. So those are the kind of things that you're going to want to pay attention to. Just know of offhand as we get into it. So let's go ahead and use it. And as we go through, you can pay attention to what Deacon does, what he brings to the table. And I think it's going to be pretty clear that he's actually best used not in a team like this, but in a more traditional clan boss team, which I find kind of interesting based off the way they built this kit. Now, as far as we go through it, the way I have this set up, we're going to have a little bit of delay with both the Man-Eaters. So they're both going to need to take a little bit of time before they get fully synced in and set up. We're also going to take a little 2-turn delay with Deacon. This is going to be one of the safer setups, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and work it that way. Now, Painkeeper, we're going to use their skills right from the get-go. which obviously isn't really doing anything. But Deacon, we're going to start with that A2 skill here. Draco, we can go ahead and get some poisons up to begin. Now, obviously, affinity has a major impact, right? Draco's going to be the target here. He's weak affinity. This team should be affinity friendly, even if it might not be affinity perfect right now. So again, we're going to wait one turn with both the man-eaters. We can go ahead and heal here with the Pain Keeper. And then Deacon, we're going to A1. And go ahead and get that going. Get the weaken and decrease defense out from Draco. And at this point, the fast man-eater, we're going to use their unkillable. Boom. The slow man-eater, we're just going to A1 or A2 right there. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click auto. And we should be fine. We should be able to use the other man-eater. We'll use their unkillable ability when their turn comes up. The slow one will. Right there. Boom. And Painkeeper goes, and then the Clan Boss goes. So this should keep us affinity friendly. Now, obviously, if we were in Relentless on Draco, there's a chance that he might use it at some point and throw some things off. But I think we're actually pretty safe with this build. And so as we go forward, we're going to be totally in sync, totally free from any debuffs. But you can see that leech is up there. It's going to help keep our team full health, even if we're going down to close to 0 in between. But yeah, it's pretty simple setup wise. It's pretty simple to run, just like the normal Batman team is. Now the big question is this a step up or down from damage? It is clearly a step down in damage, guys. Seeker is going to be much better for you in this team with these champions, okay? So if you're running a Bat Eater, you have a Draco, use Seeker. That increased attack buff is very, very strong. It's an incredible difference damage-wise. To give you an idea, I ran this team with Seeker at the Seeker speeds, and we did, I want to say, about 67 million damage. Right? My Draco is non-relentless, not optimized, right? About 67 million damage. At the end, look at the damage difference, and you'll see there's a significant difference. Two reasons why. One, Seeker himself does good raw damage. Deacon does not. Certainly not with the way I've built him. Getting his tackle only about 2,500. It's hard to get it much higher than that at these speeds. The other thing that it's going to other big thing is the increased attack buff, right? So Seeker does raw damage, increased attack buff for all the champions is beneficial. So without that, this is definitely a step down. Still a great champion, still a great team, just not quite the same. Now, where Deacon's going to shine? Batman Forever teams, where you're using Tower Warcaster, you can bring in another DPS. Well, all of a sudden, what Deacon's doing is he's giving you a really strong debuff. He's giving that decreased defense debuff. That's really helpful, right? So there are definitely some benefits to that. Another place that you might want to use them is just in a traditional team, like I said before. So you can bring in a Skull Crusher, right? You can bring in maybe even like a Lodric and run a 2-1 ratio team with Deacon in it, and just worry about getting poisons and damage out and not worry about being unkillable. That's a really strong way to go. He's going to be really good for that. But I think those are going to be the primary two ways you're going to want to use them. Now, just outside of this, outside of Clan Boss, the utility of Deacon is actually pretty strong. He's going to be really good for dungeons with that turn meter boost coming up frequently. That AoE decreased defense, that is always a valuable skill, so definitely good. And then the single target leech is going to be really nice once you hit the bosses. So there's a lot to really like about him. And, he also decreases the enemy turn meter when he increases yours. So he's a very, very good champion. Definitely somebody I would recommend paying attention to. Definitely worth building up. Even if you don't bring him in the Clan Boss, I think he's going to be really useful all around. I could see him being very useful in Arena. He does have an AoE or all battle speed aura, so that's going to be useful across the board. Going to be really good actually as a turn meter booster in Arena, because he boosts your team, decreases the enemy team, and then immediately gets another turn where he can AoE decrease defense them. That's a really strong ability. It's great for a turn meter booster. It leads you right into 1-2 double nuke, take them out. Definitely somebody I would recommend building up for that. In fact, that honestly might be where I use my Deacon after this. That might be something that I end up using for Arena. I think you'd be really good at that. So, lots of stuff, brings a lot to the table. Definitely somebody you guys want to build up and use. But yeah, let's watch the rest of the run. You guys can enjoy the music. We'll skip ahead towards the end of the run. Don't need to watch this whole run, but we'll skip ahead to the end. We'll see the damage output, see what Deacon does in that, and we can talk about the comp a little after that. There you go. 48 million. Not bad by any means, but let's recognize that we're losing some serious damage. Now, there's a couple things that we can do to definitely increase this. This is actually not a bad result. It's about 20 million or so less than I would normally do with Seeker in there, but it's not as bad as it looks. There's a couple things going on here. One, Draco doesn't place his decreased defense and weaken if decreased defense is already on the clan boss. So Deacon doesn't play that great with Draco. However, part of that is we have accuracy on Deacon. If we don't build Deacon with accuracy, then we don't need the leech debuff, we don't need the decreased defense debuff he puts up, and then Draco will put his decreased defense and weaken up a little bit more consistently. So there's definitely some ways to improve that. We can also put Draco in Relentless gear. That would not hurt and get us more damage. And, you know, in general, the team isn't particularly built well. I did have to, like, kind of tear down the builds to get up to the speeds we need to get to. So it's not optimized. We don't have 100% crit rate on anybody. It's, you know, there's definitely ways we can improve it. But Deacon did 8 million. It's not terrible. I mean, I think my Seeker does about 15. So it's definitely a step down damage-wise, but not as much as, you know, one might expect. So not bad. I mean, the guy can work. And I think the key is, though, I really do feel this way. I think the best way to use Deacon in this type of team is with a traditional team and go at a 2-1 ratio. Whenever you can just do one champion, it makes it a lot, I don't know, the what's needed becomes a lot easier. So if I were to take, say, my traditional clan boss team, right, with Valkyrie and Brago and all of them, and bring them into this team, I feel like there's a lot of potential to be able to get to excellent, you know, result. Probably a one key team. Now, Deacon would bring the decreased defense. I still would probably want to find the weaken debuff in there. I'd probably want to find some kind of, you know, poison aspect outside of just Battle Khazar type of thing. So it's definitely not perfect, right? But, you know, I think I could make it work. And I think it could be very successful. If you're able to get, you know, the protection up, you know, turn after turn after turn, there's a lot of possibilities to that. So definitely something I would consider if you guys are looking at building a 2-1 ratio team. I think Deacon is an excellent option for that. But just as long as you can remember, the speed requirements are extremely, extremely high. That makes it very difficult to do. So it's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be for every team. But if it's for yours, man, it's going to be good. So definitely recommend that. That's today's video, guys. Hopefully this was enjoyable for you. Like I said, if you have Deacon, I think he's definitely worth building. I'm actually considering using mine in Arena now that I've played with him again. I just recently got him, was just able to level him up, and now I'm thinking he might actually be an improvement over some of my Arena champions. Being able to drop that decreased defense with the speed boost is really strong. It's a really strong ability. A lot like Lanicus being able to do the ally attack with the turn meter boost. This is a really strong abilities when you can combine multiple stuff in one. It allows a wider range of champions that can be used. So he's definitely going in my 3v3 team. That's guaranteed. I'm just not quite sure exactly where else I'm going to try and use them in. So kind of an interesting champion. Hopefully this was useful for you guys and helpful. As always, hit that subscription, like button, notification bell so you know my next video's out. yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, I will have that Game On video down below with a couple unique champions that I think will work really well in special conjunction with Deacon Armstrong that you might want to check out. So, yeah, some things to think about. Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.